If you've ever felt like investing is just this complicated black box, then this one's for you. We're going to break down the simple, straightforward path to building wealth. Honestly, this is the guide I really wish I'd had when I was just starting out. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's what we're going to cover. 6 simple steps. That's it. And by the end, you'll go from feeling kind of confused to totally confident. We'll kick things off with the problem with just saving your money, and we'll wrap up with the exact steps you can take to get started, like today. All right, first up, let's talk about the default option, right? The do-nothing plan. What actually happens when you just, let your hard-earned cash sit in a regular old savings account? Well, you might be surprised. It's really not as safe as you think. Okay, so here's the problem in a nutshell. Think about this. Back in 1970, a quarter, just 25 cents, could get you a cup of coffee. Fast forward to 2019, and that same quarter, well, it wouldn't even cover the tax. And look, this isn't really about coffee, right? It's about your money literally losing its power every single year. And there's a name for this culprit. It's called inflation. The best way to think about it is like a slow, silent leak in your financial bucket. You might not notice it day to day, but every single year, stuff gets about 2, maybe 2.5% more expensive. And that means every single dollar you have, well, it buys just a little bit less. So here's the crucial point. Even if your savings account is giving you that tiny little bit of interest, like 0.2% or whatever, it's almost never enough to keep up with inflation. So yeah, your account balance might be ticking up a little, but what you can actually buy with that money, it's going down. You're literally on a financial treadmill, and you're slowly moving backwards. Okay, so if saving is basically a losing game, what's the next logical step? Well, for a lot of people, it's the exciting world of buying individual stocks, right? I mean, you hear these crazy stories about people getting rich off of Tesla or Amazon, and you think, hey, why not me? The thing is, for most of us, that thought immediately throws up this huge wall of confusing questions. Like, what even is a stock? How do you even buy one? Which company am I supposed to pick? Am I going to lose all my money? What the heck is a 401k? It's a world of jargon and complexity, and that anxiety, that's what stops most people right in their tracks. And you know what? That fear is totally justified. When you buy a single stock, you are literally betting it all on one horse. You're putting all your eggs in one company's basket. And even companies that seem totally invincible today can run into major trouble tomorrow. It's a huge, high-stakes gamble, and it's one you just don't need to take to build wealth. So, let's recap. Saving is a slow loss. Picking individual stocks is a super risky gamble. So, what's the answer? What's the alternative? Well, let's talk about what so many experts call the single best solution for most people. Let's talk about the index fund. Okay, to really get this, we're going to break it down into 2 super simple parts. First up, the fund part. All a fund is, it's just a big pot of money. Lots of people, you, me, everybody, we pool our cash together to invest. It just gives us way more power than we'd have on our own. Okay, part 2, the index. This sounds complicated, but it's not. An index is literally just a list. Think of it like a top 500 music chart, but for companies. The most famous one is the S&P 500, and it's just a list of the 500 biggest, most important companies in the US. And here's where the magic happens. You just combine the two. An index fund is a fund that doesn't try to be clever. It doesn't try to pick winners and losers. It simply and totally automatically buys a small piece of every single company on that list. So, if you put money into an S&P 500 index fund, boom, you instantly own a tiny slice of all 500 of those top companies. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. This is not some weird fringe idea. This is mainstream, rock-solid, proven advice. You talk to financial experts, you talk to successful investors, they all say the same thing. This is the smartest, most sensible way for most people to start. Okay, so why does this actually work so well? What is it about this simple strategy that's so powerful? Why is buying the whole haystack so much better than trying to find that one tiny needle? Reason number 1 is a big one: instant diversification. You're not tying your entire financial future to just one company. Nope. You're spreading your money out across hundreds of them. So if one company has a really bad year, who cares? It's balanced out by the hundreds of others that are doing just fine or even having a fantastic year. Reason number 2 is just massive, and that's the incredibly low fees. Because the whole thing is automated, there's no expensive fund manager in a fancy suit that you have to pay. And listen, a 1% fee might not sound like a lot, but trust me, over 30 years, it can eat up almost a third of your money. Keeping your fees low is one of the biggest cheat codes in investing. And hey, if you're still not convinced, just look at the legend himself, Warren Buffett. He famously made a $1 million bet. He said that over 10 years, a simple, boring, low-cost S&P 500 index fund would do better than a bunch of super smart, expensive hedge fund managers. And guess what? He won. And he didn't just win, he won by a landslide. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. All right, let's tackle the elephant in the room, the big, scary question that holds so many people back. What about risk? What happens if the market crashes? This is it, right? This is the number one fear, and it's totally understandable. We've all seen those scary headlines about the market tanking, and the idea of your hard-earned money just poof, disappearing overnight, it's terrifying. So let's stop guessing and actually look at the data. So have a look at this chart. We're not hiding the scary parts here. You can see the big crashes, right? The dot-com bust, the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID dip. They were real, and yeah, they were painful. But what is the most important thing you see? It's the overall direction. Despite all those scary dips over the long term, the market has always recovered and kept climbing. And that is the most important lesson here. A loss on paper, it only becomes a real loss if you panic and sell at the bottom. The risk in the stock market isn't that it goes to zero. The risk is short-term craziness, the reward is long-term growth. And that is exactly why the golden rule is only invest money you won't need for at least 5 years. That gives you plenty of time to ride out any storms. Okay, so you get the why and you get the what. Now let's bring it all home with the how. We're going to lay out the simple, actionable steps to get you from just learning about this stuff to actually doing it. But hold on, before you put a single dollar in, you got to do a quick pre-flight check. You need a solid foundation. Step 1, pay off any high-interest debt. I'm talking credit cards. The interest you're paying on that stuff is guaranteed to be higher than what you'll make investing. It's a no-brainer. Step 2, build up an emergency fund. You want 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a boring, safe savings account. This is your parachute. It's what keeps you from having to sell your investments when the market is down. Once that checklist is done, you're ready to go. And the process itself is surprisingly simple. First, just find a good low-cost online broker in your country. Think places like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Second, open an account. It literally takes a few minutes online. And finally, the most important step of all, just start. I don't care if it's $5 or $500. The key is to build the habit. Set up an automatic recurring investment into a broad index fund, and then just let the simple, powerful magic of compounding do its thing.